All right, so this is Todd Atkins, and I'm back for another episode of the MMA Conspiracy Hour with Miguel Iterati, MMA Museum. And today we're going to discuss kind of the latest Conor McGregor versus USADA type deal going on. And Miguel, I kind of want you to give your opening thoughts to this.
You know, USADA is an organization that, I think a lot of people sneer at, including myself. And I think that, their reputation is that, it's good to have them around because then, if anybody comes around asking about, steroids and blood work and things like that, they can throw numbers at it. We've suspended, 13% of the fighters, da 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 da. And that's literally what they can do when they're testing, people 70 times in a couple of years or whatever like that. It's actually just to get percentages and data for charts. That's my honest belief. That's why it's valuable to have USADA around. When USADA actually tries to play the role they're supposed to play, they fall flat a lot of the time, in my opinion. And here's another case where what authority are they going to have over McGregor? Are they going to be powerful enough to shut down the UFC's biggest draw in Las Vegas? It'll be an interesting thing to watch it play out because, recently in USADA came out in this whole conversation. The last rhetoric is that they said that they expect Conor to be 6 months clean. It's 6 months in the pool, rather. So he goes into the pool, he's in, and now we tick off 6 months. When is that? Are they delaying? Are they delaying Conor's calendar? Are they delaying the UFC's calendar? You're costing people money with that little delay, and it's something, stupid. Dana, when Conor signed to do the tough show against Chandler, early on in that run, the people were complaining that he was getting special treatment. And Dana's response to that was, who cares? Right? So, I mean, and I think that's another one of those situations here where it's like at the end of the day, Dana's probably in private saying, who cares what USADA does? He's going to get his way one way or another.
I want to ask you, do you think they had a deal behind closed doors already? And when Conor went on Ariel's show, he kind of blew the whistle on himself? Or do you not think that?
That's hard to say. Again, the thing is that Conor has achieved that level of power, really, because if it sounds like Conor may have asked for a deal kind of thing, or USADA certainly wouldn't suggest it, right? So Conor may have asked for something. Maybe asked, how many fighters even have the guts to ask that? Maybe a lot of them think like, oh man, I wish I could get a break, an exemption, some type of paperwork, some way around it. But to actually approach them and make that is a very privileged thing to do. And only a Conor type of person, and ego and force in the sport, it's a consequence of that old saying of FU money, where you have FU money, and that means that you can tell people who are asking you to do something or trying to force you to do something, FU, I don't need it. I don't need it for anything. I've got everything I need. And Conor's achieved that FU money, so very much he has a hard time when people try to tell him what to do. He likes to do what he likes to do.
Right. But what I mean is, he's saying my understanding is all I have to give is 2 clean tests. There must have been discussion of that for him to say such a thing.
Yeah, I think that he probably, in the interview that was aired, he was kind of looking and referring to somebody who, I think may have been telling him, shut up. You know what I mean? But that person was clearly on his side, and he was looking to him like as he was speaking, the words. He's got enough money to have enough handlers, enough people around him and stuff. Yeah, I believe that conversation was probably had. Somebody called it, there'll be some plausible deniability, they'll say that, but could it be happening that way? Absolutely. We mentioned in one of the last episodes that mafia feel to it, and that's the mafia type of feel creeping in here when certain people get certain privileges that others don't. When Dana said, "Who cares about bringing him in at certain times and letting him not adhere to the full TV schedule or whatever his privileges are while filming that." When you ask who cares, start with Michael Chandler. I know that sounds, oh, Michael won't complain, or Michael's making a lot of money, and that's what Dana might say. We're paying him a lot of money, and in his contract, we can do whatever. He can't. So Michael has to shut up. He really said, "I don't care," but deep down inside, it's got to bother him. If not him, many people in that position wouldn't take it just like that. The entire UFC roster does, though. They usually don't confront and back off a little bit and allow the opponent to be, privileged. Frankie Edgar is a good example. I always fall back on that when Edgar stepped aside for McGregor's whole rise, basically.
Let me ask you this though. Now that USADA has responded and said, there are exceptions, but they kind of said we expect him to be in the pool for 6 months. That's what I took from the statement. Can they put that genie back in the bottle and give him some preferential treatment now that this is out in the open?
Yeah, when they count the dates off and whatever gets determined, we'll see how it plays out. But USADA to me is still like a lame organization because we talk about Russia and the Russian influence on steroids, even at the Olympic level and other sports and things, where basically at the cultural level, they think it's more like science and not cheating. So they're more prone to do it. During the Olympics, they were banned because the government there put agents from their Secret Service in the clinic that was receiving all the samples. And that is because, and I think indirectly that may have been Kadyrov, who is the president of Chechnya now, and is the guy who's sponsoring MMA fighters and has been very visible in boxing and the fight game for more than a decade. So let's play a little game here. It's like Kadyrov in Chechnya is probably very similar to Dana in Las Vegas. So in other words, USADA isn't going to be able to come in the night, wake up, Conor. We need a test. This is, and then we'll publish. You're clean. We'll publicize, and it'll be good. That we're treating you like everybody else. Wake you up at 4 a.m. We got to know everywhere you go. That may be what Conor like. That they got to know everywhere you go. So when you're gonna mosey on down to the strip joint, they're gonna come in and sweep in and ask him for a P test there. He don't like that. He don't want to be bothered. But. And here's the comparison to Kadyrov, though. Dana's got that town on lock. I don't think USADA could come into Vegas like that and surprise Conor for a test or whatever without anybody, without entities knowing, especially if they wanted to know. And I think they do. I think they monitor things at that level. Dana wants to know: is USADA going to come and test him right now, or USADA just flew into town? Lil Berg told him. But at that level, does Dana back off or does Dana coddle the guy they drinks whiskey with? It's hard to say. But sometimes, and it does look like what you mentioned too, that Dana is backing away and the UFC is backing away from Conor a little bit, like Conor opened his mouth a little bit too much on this one. But again, my argument with that is that USADA doesn't really have any real power. Maybe if Conor, we haven't seen him fight in years anyway. So the bottom line is, if he's delayed again, he's delayed again. I think Dana's used to it too. That's the other part. This is Conor's problem, not the UFC's.
Right, but how he said you guys aren't the be all end all, in his statement or in his tweet. So it's kind of like almost like he's setting aside of kind of like a tug of war. Is there going to be any tug of war, or are they just going to roll over USADA?
Not being the be all end all is could or could not be an incorrect statement. So in other words, like I said, the entity exists, and I believe the UFC is sort of like on an official level, like what they publicize, that they've They pay USADA or use USADA through whatever, there's money exchange there, but that USADA is been chosen to test all the UFC athletes, and that the UFC just is as a requirement uses USADA in their athlete pool. So how is Conor exempt from that? He thinks by his statement, he thinks he's okay. So who knows what the misunderstanding is there, but I think USADA can make exceptions and does make exceptions. At the end of the day, he's the big draw. The UFC is the big client, and as long as they keep popping, I think the kid's name was Alex Trevino. A marginal guy with a couple of fights, and he gets pop for pot. Back in the old days, maybe pot for pot, suspended, and boom, those percentages go up on those aside. We suspended, ding 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 here, and it's absolutely of no value to any type of cheating enforcement. So we'll see how it plays out. Like nothing they do is of a lot of value towards cheating enforcement. So if Conor's cheating, he's probably going to keep getting away with it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if who wins in this little exchange. But I think, like we were saying earlier, I think there must have been discussion of letting him get 2 clean tests. So it might not be who wins. It might be how can we make this right without without all the other fighters knowing.
Yeah, when all the other fighters know, you get disgruntled people, but is anyone really going to come out and speak out against it? No, and Conor is a way of shutting down his peers, and a lot of his peers want to be him. Will not mess with him. Kind of also as an honor among the guys. So, and I don't see Dana stepping into this one too much. And he's on Power Slap. He's busy, and I think Conor's on his own here.
That's a good thing to end on. He's too busy with Power Slap to worry about it.
I think so.
All right. Well, Miguel, I appreciate you taking time to do this, and everybody who's stopped by to check out the MMA Conspiracy Hour. Until next time, take care.